On day 2, for part A of the solubility experiment, we're going to have 4 clean and dry test tubes. So if you keep your same test tubes from day 1 and make sure that they're clean and dry, you'll be set to go on day 2. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to put 40 milligrams of benzophenone. So basically, you don't have to be exact. If you're off by a little bit, that's okay. But basically the same amount, roughly the same amount, 40 milligrams of benzophenone in each one of our 4 test tubes. And then we're going to add different solvents to those test tubes to see if the benzophenone dissolves. Okay, so here we have test tube number 1, and I've added my 40 milligrams of benzophenone. And now what I'm supposed to do is basically just spin my spatula in here, and this is just stirring this up for about 60 seconds. You don't want to go too much longer than 60 seconds. And at that point in time, you want to make a judgment call to say how much of that benzophenone has dissolved. Has none of it dissolved? Has some of it dissolved? Or has all of it completely dissolved? Now, this is going to be sort of subjective, so what I would recommend you guys do is basically check with the people around you. Ask them what they think. If you disagree, then you guys can redo the experiment and sort of, discuss with one another to find out what the best option might be. So once you finish part A with the benzophenone, then you're going to do the same exact set of experiments with malonic acid. And again, when you're doing these experiments, check with the people around you to make sure that you all agree on the assignments that you come up with for partially soluble, insoluble, totally soluble, things like that. In part B, we're going to be testing the solubility of different alcohols in 2 different solvents, water and hexanes. So I've made a table here where I've got my 3 different alcohols we'll be testing with my tube numbers for my water versus hexanes tests, and I'll just keep track of those and what I observe when I do the experiment. Alright, so here we have the 3 different alcohols we'll be testing, 1 octanol, 1 butanol, and methanol. And I've got my test tubes 1, 2, and 3, and I've already put 1 milliliter of water into each one of those. So now what I'm supposed to do is take my alcohol and add it 1 drop at a time and try to observe what happens when I add those drops. So I'm going to start with 3 drops. I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and I'm going to observe what I see in the test tube. So far I don't see any change. They look like they're mixing together. So I'll add 3 more drops and observe. So again, I don't see any change, and I'm going to continue doing this until I've added 20 drops total, and at that point we're going to stop adding drops, and that's it. Part D is actually really important and really interesting. So what's going on here is we've got 2 different compounds, benzoic acid and ethyl aminobenzoate, and we're going to be testing the solubility of these different compounds under acidic, basic, or neutral conditions. Now, what I really want to point out is that the benzoic acid is an acid, right? So it's got an acidic proton. That acidic proton can leave as H+, and under different conditions, it's going to be more likely to do so or less likely to do so. So what I want you guys to think about when you're doing part D, or even before you come in, is what you might expect to observe under the different conditions, and what products you might expect to form under, again, those different conditions. Alright, so for the waste for part D, this is all going to be all of my different test tubes. It's all going to be aqueous waste because all the solvents that we used were water-based or things that were dissolved in water. So I can basically just collect all of these into 1 beaker in my hood, and then I can just take this 1 beaker over to the waste, saving a lot of time and cutting down on congestion around the waste area. So you'll also notice that I've labeled 2 other waste jars, halogenated waste and non-halogenated waste, and you guys can keep these in your hoods and just use them throughout the day, collecting your waste in the appropriate waste jug, and then at the end of the class you can just take 1 jug over. That'll really save you a lot of time as you move forward, and again will help cut down on that congestion around the waste area.